Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Black Advancement. I'm your host slash moderator, Ajuman Jasante Goodman. On the screen with me, I have today Takara Mosley, Brandon Coney, Maurice Franklin, Greg Goodman, and Shanice Goodman. And we are the Black Advancement. Before I get into the topic of today, which is the mask, I want to tell you what the Black Advancement Incorporated is all about. Black Advancement Incorporated is a non-profit organization that looks to combat the problems of the Black community through action and dialogue. Now, before we get right into our topic, I'll give you a little background or a front street. We have all been there. We have all had that feeling that we do not belong in the rarefied air of our colleagues or our jobs, or in some cases, our friends and family. We have all had to wear the mask to make it through situations. But when does the mask become self-hatred? When does the wearing of masks become dishonest to yourself and what you are? Are you ashamed of who you are, or are you just cognizant of the situation? These are the questions that the Black community consciously or unconsciously face every day. Does the use of the mask contribute to the destruction of the Black community? It's a shorter front street, but I felt like it did the job. So with all that being said, we're going to do question number one, and I'm going to start off with, I'll start with Maurice on this one. Have you ever worn the mask, and if so, where and why?
Yeah, I've worn the mask at work, at school, at home. I think I guess the first thing when I think about wearing a mask is just how I am around different people. I behave differently when I'm around like my parents or other adults. I guess I'm an adult, but other people that I respect just as well as I put a different mask on when I'm around my kids. Like they don't get to see everyday Maurice around his friends. They get to see dad Maurice or father Maurice, and then so I would consider that a mask as well. Of course, it worked because again, you can't be your full self in a professional environment all the time. But I think your values have to remain the same regardless of where you are. So I am different everywhere that I go, and I've worn the mask often. I wear the mask all the time, but at the same time, I'm always authentically Maurice.
Shanice, I'll let you go next.
Um, I feel I wore the mask probably many different times throughout my lifetime. Um, More common nowadays, I feel like I wear it more at work with not so as far as my personality goes. I feel like more so an emotional mask. Like when identify things that I might feel is not necessary speaking to everybody in the curriculum. I might not say anything. Like when we have Thanksgiving holidays coming up and we're talking about the story of Thanksgiving, and I'll mask my emotion and say, "Oh yeah, the Pilgrims and the Indians." When inside it's killing me. I'm like, I'm teaching this stuff, even though I know, and I know in the history behind it. So I do emotionally mask myself at work. And also like during the George Floyd thing, I feel like I had an emotional mask on then. I couldn't show my true feelings and true essence of, I'm for my people. And right now I don't feel like working, I want to grieve. But At home, I think I'm a more reserved person. I'm not outgoing per se, but I feel like people that are close to me get to know more of me than anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm more reserved. So yeah, my mask is more of emotional mask. I'm pretty consistent wherever I go. So
Greg.
Uh, I used to once upon a time, but as of recent years, and I don't even exactly know how many years, uh, I just completely stopped doing anything that I felt like isn't who I am at all. For the simple fact that I've come to realize that people aren't going to like you regardless, whether you put the mask on or not. So I might as well be who I am and be able to sleep at night knowing that I've represented myself the way I wanted to represent myself, in every situation. So if you talk to me about anything, you're going to get my honest opinion about whatever it is. And if it hurts your feelings, it hurts your feelings. I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? Because people surely don't care about my feelings. So we I'm not going to be the one that's uncomfortable in these situations. I'm just going to be who I am. And I made that decision a while ago. And I'll say this, in certain situations, I might attempt to tone it down, but for the most part, I'm just gonna say what I say, and that'll be what it is. So I've completely given up on trying to make other people feel a certain way. So you know what I'm saying? So I'm not about to make myself feel worse so they can feel better. That's not gonna happen. So I'm just gonna say what I say and do what I do whenever I'm in any situation, and regardless of who's around. Like sometimes with my language, I'll clean it up around like my parents, but that's probably about it.
Hmm.
And that's out of respect for my parents. Everybody else, it just is what it is.
Well, thank you. We always enjoy people who don't give their honest opinions on here. Takara, Takara, you're next.
Yeah. Yes, I would say yes, I've worn a mask, and probably primarily at work, but I agree with some of the other comments about, sometimes you just, want to, present a different self, and not to say that, like just depending on what situation you're in and who you're in front of, like you say, your parents or, you know, like if you have children or, if you're with a friend that has kids, you might, want to tone down the language or be more considerate of other people. And in the workplace, definitely like professionalism is important. I work in mental health. So I have to, it's that much more important to be careful about what you say and how you say it and who you're talking to and being adaptable. Depending on who you're interacting with as far as patients, but also depending on your coworkers and what kind of relationship you have with those coworkers. I think there is a baseline me that never really goes away, but I may edit more depending on the situation that I'm in. When I interviewed for my position, my hair was dyed blue at the time. Not all of my hair, but enough where going on the interview, I decided to wear a wig. I wear wigs anyway, so it's not like I got a wig specially for the interview. I just decided to wear it during the interview to make sure I got on in the door, which would I have gotten in either way? Probably. But I just wanted to, it's just something for me. I feel like, it's a little, could be a gray area for some people, depending on, like with professionalism. And, but on the other side of that, would I care? Like, I wouldn't care what color somebody's hair is on the interview. It's just not, you're married, I would be more so looking at that. But for me, it's something that I think is important. That's just my own personal opinion.
I'm going to circle back around to that after I let Coney go. Go ahead, Coney. Sure, go.
Yeah, I would say that, I agree with a lot of things that everybody else said. Earlier on in my career, working in corporate America, more specifically financial services, which is dominated by white men, I absolutely wore the mask. I didn't realize that I was wearing the mask until it was pointed out to me, but then get into conversation with people, and ultimately at that time, I felt that not necessarily me needing to assimilate, but in order for me to be able to fit in a world in which I already stand out like a sore thumb, black guy, one of only ones in the entire office, let alone the corporation. So yeah, I have worn it, but also, to Greg's point that he's made is that as I've gotten older, I've become more unapologetic about who I am. I've realized that, similar to what he said, is that you're either going to like me or you're not, and you're not going to like me or you're not going to not like me based off of who I am. Most people don't like you based off of what you are, who you are. And so with that being said, I've become less apologetic about who I am. And, I try my hardest not to wear the mask. Even now I'm working in education now, but I'm on the business side of it. Still, I still get people who I am. Again, as Takara's mentioned as well, settings, you obviously may want to tone your rhetoric down some. Again, just depending on who you are. Obviously, you know, I don't want to be cussing around my friends' kids. I don't want to cuss around my kids, you know, or older and whatnot, you know, just because of how I was raised. But to answer your question, yes, I've worn the mask, but I've made it a point to make sure that I don't wear it anymore.
Yeah, I just want to. That was good. That was a good answer, by Rob. But I do want to circle back around because, and although this is always a heavily slanted Hampton panels, I don't want to like put it to there, but I'll use Hampton as an example for something I might be talking about as far as like the idea of wearing a mask in the business world. I remember we had a huge controversy on our campus with the business school, and Brandon was in the business school, so you can probably talk to this more than anybody. But where they were informing a lot of the students that if they went into the 5-year MBA program, is that correct? I think it was the
Yes.
5-year MBA program, that they could not have locks, they could not have, basically they couldn't wear their hair the way that they wanted to in order to be with
Correct.
the program. And that caused kind of a stir among other people. So from the perspective of that, do you guys feel like that's still something that's prevalent? Like, do you feel the need to still have to cut your hair or have a certain appearance when you go to your job interview or to court, you know what I mean? Or, you know, or wherever you need to go, in order to make yourself come off as being, I guess, more professional, so to speak.
No.
Thank you, Maurice.
I mean, it's true. No, I mean, I similarly to Brandon, you know, I work in a predominantly white male industry. I think of the 14,000 that there are, I think 10 are white males. And so, you know, and that's, you know, it's the way it's always been. But I don't feel like I need to cut my hair. I don't feel like I need to not wear hoodies or sneakers or whatever the case, to try to fit into what they may feel I need to be. Like, they're gonna, like you all have said, either accept me or not. And it's not about what I'm wearing or my outward appearance. It's about my ability to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what I stake everything on is, you know, I'm really good at my job. And so you can judge my outward appearance, but I'm not going to change and compromise, you know, who I am, what I look like, braids, beard, locks, hoodies, sneakers, whatever it may be, or the music that I'm listening to, just not going to do it. You know, when I'm working, I'll be professional. I'll do what I'm supposed to do. But after that, leave me alone.
Shanice, you had also touched on something that's, oh, go ahead, Takara, I'm sorry.
You're on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Sorry. Okay. Like I say, I wore a wig for my interview, but yeah, they have not seen that since. So, and I wear my hair all different ways. You know, I've had blue hair, now it's kind of got some green left, and I wear straight, I wear, you know, naturally curly. I mean, I wear it, you know, however way I wear it now. Did I wear a wig to make sure I secured the bag? Oh, yes. But now that I'm in there and a federal employee, you know, they're gonna get my natural hair, and they could discriminate against me if they would like to. I would be perfectly happy filing a lawsuit and getting paid, because that's illegal. And there was a story about a woman who worked for Hooters, I believe, at the Inner Harbor in Baltimore, and she was fired because of her not wearing her natural hair color or something of the nature. It was to that effect, and she won like $250,000 because they did not discriminate against white women who dyed their hair blind.
I was about to say, like, if I remember correctly, like, this is kind of weird, man. They be doing a whole bunch of weird stuff to their waitresses in terms of like they have to. The stuff actually kind of sounds illegal. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like they'd be like, yeah, you can't be, but you have to have a gym membership. I don't know if they pay for it. You have to go to the gym and do this stuff. It's like, I don't know if they pay for it. I'm like, these people are working for tip. I digress. Shanice, you had talked about the emotional part of it in terms of wearing a mask. Can you elaborate just a little bit more on that, and then we can go to the guy on the couch?
Oh, can I say something about the hair real quick?
Sure. Yeah. No.
All right, because I've had a conversation with someone that I've known most of my life about, because I'm always debating getting locks. And it's been, I was like, okay, when I'm 30, I'm going to get locks. Okay, when I'm 40 now, I'm going to get locks. And then whenever I had this conversation with this person, and they'll be like, locks, and they're very conservative on their views. They're like, locks, you're going to be seen as not, be very unprofessional. And so I don't agree with that, because I told this person, she's like, well, you're a teacher, and then people may not want their kid in your class because you have locks. And I definitely don't agree with it, but it's always in the back of my head. Because I believe you should be able to wear your hair however you want, and it should not determine shouldn't determine whether you can do your job. It shouldn't determine your professionalism, because you can't change who you are. So there are people that still, I think they're more older people that grew up with the ideas of dreadlocks being dreadlocks, seen as dirty and this and that. Mm-hmm. And then I think that's a stigma that we really need to change within our societies, and I think it's changing now, especially with all the hair discrimination suits and going up. And I know that certain states pass laws where you can't discriminate on employees based on their hair. So I think, again, professionalism has nothing to do with your hair. And I just wanted to put that out there. But one thing too, as far as the emotional mask, I feel like I often wear, basically what I mean by that is I feel like I can't fully express myself in an environment where people don't look like me. They're not going to understand, and I'll just come off as just complaining, or, so and it's tough because, when you work and you're like, if there's not a lot of people there, because it's like you feel a certain way. But with my instance, they've been doing this for years, and then I'm newer to the team, and to say something, like I did bring something up because it just irked me the other day, because they were showing this video on Thanksgiving, and they had like this Black pilgrim, and it was just too much. And I'm like, whoa, rewind that back. I was like, is that pilgrim Black? And they're like, yeah. I was like, no, I'm not showing this to my kids. I'm not gonna I'm not. And then they're like, well, I'm glad you said something, because if you didn't say something, then we wouldn't have known. So thank you for that. So so I do a lot of masking of my emotion, trying not to. It's not more so I don't want to step on people's toes. I just don't want to be the only one that's always calling something out. Yeah. If there was more of me, then I would feel more comfortable calling more things out. But since I'm like the only one, at some point you're like, let them digest this first, because I just brought this up, and then I can come back to that at another time. So that's what I mean as far as masking different things that I see. I'm sorry if I took long.
No, those are all really good points. We need your check. Guy on the couch. Guy on the couch, what do you got for the first question?
All right, question number 1. Have you ever worn the mask, and if so, where and why? Maria says, yes, around both white and Black folks. When around white folks, more attentive to the tone I use when engaging because of the perception of the aggressive African-American woman. When around Black folks, I use more slang and assessed Black mannerisms because people in my Black race say I act white, whatever that means. Back to you.
A lot of complicated stuff actually popping up from Maria there. Anybody who can go on.
I can speak on that firsthand. I got both of that growing up. I'd be around white people and again, big angry Black guy, and so you don't want to come off the way you to tone yourself down. And then when hanging around Black people, from the South, my dad was in the Air Force. We around a lot. I remember moving to North Carolina actually. They called me an Oreo, and I had no idea what it meant. And they were like, I'd come home and have a conversation. Kid at school said that I talk white. I don't talk Black enough. I had to have a lesson on what that meant, because time I'm 10 years old in the 5th grade. I didn't know what black was. I didn't know what white was. That's how I spoke. But you do get that. And I remember being in high school and having a conversation with a young lady, and the issue of race came up, and she about basically talking negatively about some of our black classmates. And in essence, I said, well, what about me? I'm black. She's like, well, you're different. I'm like, well, how am I different? And then she started to go into, well, you're different because, you're in these gifted classes, sports, you're into drama, you're into music, you're on the student government. So in essence saying, I was one of the good blacks. So I didn't fall into the same category that the other ones that she was referring to was. And I got into what ended up becoming a heated conversation. That's I didn't call her racist, but I said you are stereotyping a group of people, interactions with you, and ultimately you shouldn't do that. She said, well, I'm not stereotyping, I'm not racist and whatnot and stuff. But to bring that full circle, I've done both.
Just to, add into what you just said about that whole scenario. You see, the thing that I do in those situations, if they say something like that, then at that point, I start trashing poor white people and then tell them they're one of the good ones. See, that's how I deal with those kinds of things. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, that's good.
And then they're just
That's
like,
good.
well, what do you mean? Oh, not you. You're one of the good ones. But the rest of these hillbilly trash, that's how you combat that. That's the kind of stuff that I do at work.
And that's
like I
what
said, I'm not gonna be the one uncomfortable. You're gonna be the one uncomfortable. That's how I deal with those kinds of things.
And that's our show.
Just to let them know how nonsensical their talk is. Because it's just a bunch of just ignorant speech coming out of their face.
Yeah.
And that's how I would have dealt with that with her. And I've dealt with that with other people. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I mean by I'm not gonna wear no mask. I'm gonna give it to you raw, just like you give it to me raw. So then I have to defend myself and tell them I'm not a racist. I'm just telling you what it is.
It's a very narrow thought process, though, is what people don't realize about that. And that's for Black and white people, because speaking proper English is a good thing. Not, and I mean, if you can code switch and you can talk slang, I mean, that's fine too. But that should not be tied to how Black you are, is how, much slang you can use, or versus, if you use proper English, that's considered, like you say, like they talk white or you being white. It's like, first of all, that's like, you sound ignorant. As educated as you might think you are, you sound stupid saying stuff like that. But the other problem is like you say with white people, Greg, like, like they just, again, like just being out of touch, it's like,
they don't know
having this narrow, it's like, having this like narrow thought of like what people should be. But what all people need to understand is that all people bring value, and how that looks in different people is it's going to look different. Everybody's not going to look the same, and people may not always sound the same. And I mean, I've definitely, may use more proper English, or, speak correctly, like use, correct grammar, depending on, what I'm, like you said, what situation I'm in. But it doesn't really change who you are. I mean, to me, I prefer that it's the idea of like code switching and using your dialect, or maybe a different dialect or whatever. And it's a good thing if you can do more than one. So, I mean, versatility is a great thing. It's not something to be frowned upon. And Black people just really got to stop with this idea of like, how Black you are. I mean, it's like stupid.
I know.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. To me, I feel like
hold
that's
on. Here's the other thing I want to say real quick. I'm gonna make this real quick about the white people that say these kinds of things about certain kind of Blacks and the way they talk and all that other stuff. The thing that pisses me off about this mostly is they'll say that, but then you go in their car, they'll play Dr. Dre, they'll play Snoop, they'll play 50 Cent, and they don't have a problem with it there, like it's some kind of a show. Like, you know what I'm saying? These people all come from the same cloth. They'll listen to that and they won't be offended by that at all, but they'll be upset if they hear someone in their school that speaks that same kind of vernacular. And that I don't understand. If you don't like it, don't like it all the way. Because I don't like redneck stuff, but you're not gonna go in my DVD collection and see the Dukes of Hazards or anything like that, because I don't mess with redneck stuff. Period. On all fronts.
Across
I
the
don't
board,
like
right?
it. So I'm not picking and choosing and cherry picking, and that's what they do with black stuff, and it's very upsetting. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead, Maurice. I just wanted to get that out.
No, it's all good. I think
I
that's
respect
that's
Everybody
an
wants to
excellent
be
point.
black, but nobody wants to be black.
There he
Exactly.
is.
Yeah, but to me, I guess I find it more frustrating when I hear or receive that from black people, like the whole Oreo statement, or you talk white, or all of that stuff. To me, it's a lot more frustrating to hear it from them, because I'm like, you know better, like you know how wrong that is. For white folks, I'm like, hey, I expect that from them because they don't know, and that's just how they are. But from black folks, I'm like, look, just because a person isn't from the hood doesn't mean they aren't black, and that's not a measurement of their blackness depending on how difficult their circumstances were growing up. Like, that's not a measurement of your blackness, and to assume that to be the case, and to say, well, you're not as black as me because of this. I'm like, well, that's absolutely ridiculous. But so that makes, to me, I guess that makes it way more frustrating than when it comes from white people, because I expect that from them.
Actually, with that statement too, I'll say this: both sides is all coming from a point of view of ignorance, because they don't understand, or they don't get it. Now, a black hood dude will say that you're not as black because you're not in the hood, but they don't realize how hard it is to be black in the burbs when you're the only black in the burbs.
Yeah.
They don't see that level of racism that you have to deal with every day.
Right.
It's easy to be unapologetically black around a bunch of black people.
Yeah,
it's a lot harder to be unapologetically black around a bunch of white people.
Yeah, it's a different scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I'm saying, it's a thing where you got to learn how to adjust. More so, you really can't be all the way 100 you if you're in that situation for most dudes, because it's an uncomfortable situation. And that's the part that they don't understand. All of this comes from a place of ignorance and a lack of understanding of where other people are coming from. Right. So when you hear someone say someone's an Oreo, they don't particularly understand what they're saying, because they only have one perspective, because they haven't seen enough to have a different point of view.
Yeah.
And it's almost, well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, well, I was just gonna say, just to chime in, just to kind of piggyback off of what everyone has said, like the whole thing where that Brandon has gotten to talk when he's talking to that girl in his high school. I'm almost positive everybody in this chat has had a white person say, you're not like the rest of them at some point. And I have to piggyback off of something that Greg had said to me, like pretty much most of my life. I mean, like he was like, you notice how they say that about people who they don't know. He's like, he always says like he said they say that about the black people they never met, right? They say that with the black people they meet, they're all good people. But the black people they haven't met yet, they just assume that they're a certain way. And it's just like, it's an interesting pull on the topic. Is anyone?
No, I never had a white person say that to me.
Really?
And they probably know better.
Yeah. Mine had
about that baseline to car is always there.
Yeah. Well, we know.
They know. I think they know. I think they know. They wouldn't say like, "Oh, you're not like the rest of them." I think they know. Like, she very professional, but she might. Yeah. So I'm not. Yeah. I think they know. I think the people I work with, they know. Yep.
Go ahead, Shanice.
Mine happened early though. Mine happened like when I was in 2nd and 3rd grade, and I had no idea what she was talking about. Because like Brandon and Aji and like my family wasn't military, but we moved around a lot. Yeah. So I'm from Ohio, and like I grew up in Lorain, and then we moved to Cleveland and I was in like 2nd, 3rd grade there. And there's a west side of Cleveland, there's east side of Cleveland. Mm-hmm. So I used to live in the Lakewood area. And then out in 4th grade, like 3rd and 4th grade, I was bused to east side of Cleveland to go to the school on the east side. And so there's this little white girl I used to play with in our neighborhood. She's like, I think it was like 2nd or 3rd grade. And she's like, you're not like all the other black girls.
God.
And so I'm like, And Cleveland is very segregated too. So it's like to hear that coming from her and then not to really understand race at the time. So that was like one of my first experiences with race when you're like, what do you mean I'm not like other Black girls? You know, so so that it was when I first heard that I was confused because I was a baby. I didn't know what she was talking about. Like, what do you mean? I feel like I'm just normal. I'm just me. So I experienced that really early.
I want to piggyback off of what Reese said real quick. A quick funny story. So we were at work. This is us. We'll call it 6-7 months ago. But either which way, it was said in a joking manner, but either which way, it shows you how ignorant some people can be, even when trying to make a joke. But we got in the conversation of growing up Black and different experiences as you're Black and whatnot. And my colleagues try to say that I wasn't Black because my parents got divorced like when I was a teenager, and because it's basically like you grew up in a 2-parent household, you don't know what it's like to be Black. And that's what I'm saying. Most Black people, their parents either got divorced when they were young or didn't get married at all. And mind you, again, there was a joking tone to it, but there was still some truth in what they were saying. Not saying that what they're saying is true, but they meant what they were saying, even though it was in a joking manner. And I'm like, how is it that I'm any less Black because my parents get divorced when I'm 14 as opposed to your parents got divorced when you were 3? Like that's fell to me, and we joked about it, but it's still like Maurice said, it's better, like you know better, and you be like, well, you're not as Black as us because hey, you grew up in a 2-parent household. What the fuck? Sorry. What in the world? Like, come on, B. Like, sorry about that, Haj.
No, you good. You good. I appreciate it actually. Because that comment to me deserved that. It did. It really did. Because as you were saying it, I don't know if you saw me say it or not. I was like, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
So that's disgusting, man.
I've heard that before too, but
yeah, I mean anyway, like this is going really well. Unfortunately, I'm gonna cut just to plug the website real quick, which is www.blackadvancement.com. While you're there, you can go to our research tab, which can help you with any topic such as this topic, where we pull different articles for you to be able to join in on the discussion if you feel like you don't have a proper background for it. Speaking of topics, we have a topics tab where you can volunteer topics that we can discuss or that you can be a part of as well if you so choose. Write in and want to be a part of. But we have plenty of a bevy of topics on there that coming up and from the past as well. Events, we're not doing events until a vaccine comes out, so I'm just gonna leave that right there. And also we have an in history section on there that's got some cool stuff that you may not have learned in school that has to deal with Black history or history and how that has affected Black people in America. So you should check that out. This is a good discussion, so I'm just going to try to keep it moving as best I can to question number 2, which is, do we only wear the mask when in the company of other races? And I feel like we're already on that track. So whoever wants to jump in, keep going.
No. I mean, I would say again, like we said earlier, like sometimes depending on, like you say, if I'm with my parents or with, I mean, I'm still Black, but I might clean up. Well, I'm always Black, but I might clean up the language, like, you might be careful about that. And like you say, around children or something, I might be, again, you just might edit better. And all situations don't cause, they don't call for the same thing, the same conversation, the same, whatever it is that you participating in. Sometimes you just need to play your position is how I see it. And sometimes I mean, I am definitely an extrovert. I'm a vocal person, but there are times where I choose not to say anything because it's just not the place. That doesn't mean I'm any less Black. It just means that this is not, potentially the right situation for that. But I wouldn't do that based on race. At least my experience hasn't been that way.
Coney.
Yeah, I mean, we've touched on it beforehand, and I can say, and my wife has pointed this out to me, is that, and Takar's pointed out beforehand, is that you being able to adapt to a particular situation it's an asset, you being able to do that. And I do that. And my wife has made mention of is that when I'm around certain groups of friends, my language or my dialect will change accordingly. When I'm around, my buddies from undergrad, I'll talk one way. When I'm around my buddies from middle school and high school, I'll talk another way. When I'm around my friends from up here in Pittsburgh, I talk another way. But again, I think that is more so me making myself more comfortable in those particular situations with those. That's how I interacted with them, or that's how I speak or communicate with them. But and again, do I talk the same way with Aji that I do with my father? Absolutely not. My father is a man. I've only heard him curse 4 times in my entire life.
Amazing.
Whereas Aji probably heard me curse, 4 times in 6 seconds. But to that same end,
less.
But yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think that it's limited to just Black or white people. I think that it's really about your surroundings and your environment.
Greg, go ahead.
Like I said before, man, I am who I am, and that's just what you're gonna get. I'm like back in the day, yeah, I would. I'm grown now. I don't have time to try to fake to make someone else comfortable. I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna say my opinion and what it is. I really can't. I can't muster up. I can't muster up all that BS to make someone else feel better about themselves or better about a situation. Like I said, there's very few minute exceptions I'll make. Like I said, around my parents, maybe around some of my friends' parents, and that's like a handful of my friends' parents. You know what I'm saying? I was talking to my man Tyrone's dad the other day. I talked to him the same way I talk to Tyrone. It's just what it is. You know what I mean? There's just certain there's a certain point where you just I can't keep trying to be something that I'm not, because to me the reward is not big enough for the sacrifice of me being fake. It's just not going to happen for me. I can't sit there and try and keep, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't hold back myself to make everyone else feel fine. All right, I'm going to tell you what I feel. If I think something stinks, then I'm going to tell you I think that stinks. It just is what it is. And if you think something that I do stinks, I would definitely hope that you tell me that it stinks. That way I don't go out here and make a fool of myself. Like, there's no time for sugarcoating things, and there's no time for all this extra stuff. We have to be honest with each other. And I think if you wear a mask, you're not fully being honest with whoever you're speaking with.
Well, now you guys understand my childhood and why I ended up the way. Shanice, your go.
The question is, do I feel like I wear a mask in front of other races more? Is that the question?
So the question is, do we only wear the mask when in the company of other races?
I would say no, and I agree with a lot of people. I've already said already. We all switch it up when we have to, because I think that's just human nature. You're going to be around certain people, you're going to act a certain way, speak a certain way, because that's what you're most comfortable with. What I don't agree with is when you try to switch it up to make them comfortable, which I feel what a lot of Black people feel like they have to do, switch it up so white people are comfortable. So in instance, I particularly don't really have to switch it up because I'm pretty consistent. Like I said before, where I don't have to feel like I wear a mask as far as changing my language and my tone. I'm not a big slang speaker per se, but I'm pretty consistent, more so. So, but I do feel like people do want to wear a mask to make other people feel comfortable, and that I don't necessarily agree with. If you're not comfortable with me, then maybe you shouldn't be around me. But yeah, so I think so that's my answer to that question.
Denise, what up? So we'll go on to Maurice.
No, I mean, I think for me, I'll wear my mask depending on the situation, and I wouldn't even classify it as trying to disguise myself because, like I said earlier, like I'm always authentically myself. There are just some aspects of me that I don't think certain people deserve to see, and so that'll be the part of me that they don't get to see, at least at work, they won't get to see the compassionate Maurice, the guy that cares. It's the guy that's all they see is the guy that's just business. He doesn't really want to talk too much. He wants to handle business and go home. So it's not that I don't want them to know it's not that I'm afraid or I'm trying to appease them. I just don't feel like they deserve it. So they don't get it. But if I do see something that I would speak up about, anywhere, then I'm going to say it. Like I don't compromise who I am because of my situation. But like you all have said, like I don't cuss in front of my kids. But interestingly, I let my kids listen to rap. But I want them to be well rounded. But they'll listen to rap and we'll also listen, to jazz or to R&B or whatever. Like I try to put them onto everything, not because I don't know. It's just something that again I want them to be able to be comfortable in any social environment as well. And so musically, I feel like for me that's been a bridge to a lot of relationships. So I try to provide that for them, but still, as far as mask around just other races, nah. I mean, I intentionally, I guess it was like 9 years ago, grew locks when I first started working, just to be like, because I didn't see anybody that worked with me with locks or with long hair. Everybody had short hair, and it's like, okay, well, what happens if my nephew decides he wants to be, in the same profession? You know, he may be like, well, I don't really see anybody like me, so no thanks on that profession. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, again, I wear my hair how I want, my beard how I want. I'm going to dress how I want, because if some young person sees me and they say, hey, well, what do you do? Hey, this is what I do. And we may look similar on the outside, but intellectually, we can also be doing the same thing professionally. So don't just assume, what you see on the outside is all that I have to offer. This is just my costume. But beneath this costume, I'm Superman, regardless. So yeah, so no, there's that mask around. No, it's just more of a you deserve it or you don't. So you'll get certain aspects of it, or you can handle it or you can't. When it comes to like my kids, like I don't show them the aggressive, angry side of me because they don't need that. They get strict me, but they don't get aggressive. He might be crazy, me. Their boyfriends will see that. Other folks who mess with them will see that, and they'll be like, "Oh, this guy's crazy. He's been this way the whole time," and I'd be like, "Surprise!" But but it's true. But yeah, so no, that's how I feel. Yeah, I don't wear a mask for any particular race.
Go ahead, Greg, and then I'm gonna go to the guy on the couch.
Well, this is the other reason why I keep it that way. All right, let's just say something. They come across something like this, and they see me talking this way about these issues and other issues. I don't want these people to be like, I had no idea. I don't want them to be surprised by this. They'd be like, we've never seen this side of you. Anyone who sees this that I know that's white will see this and say, that sounds about right. There's not going to be any surprise. There's not going to be any shock on the way I see things. I don't want them to be like, oh, I didn't know you felt that way. You're going to know. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like, this is going to be a weird metaphor to use, but it's almost like the Pee Wee Herman effect. That's why it was so shocking what Pee Wee Herman did, is because his whole persona was, I'm fun. And come to find out, he's doing nasty stuff in the theater. Like if he would have known that he was a freak to begin with, then there's no shock. It doesn't even make the news. If Bob Saget gets caught, no one cares. That's Bob Saget. We know what you're about. You know what I'm saying? So that's my whole thing. You're not going to get me caught up in a position where you're not going to know that this is how I felt the entire time. It's not going to be a surprise to you that I feel this way about certain issues. And that's the other reason why I don't wear it, because if you catch me, if I'm one way at my job and then they come across this, there's going to be some questions that they're going to want to ask. This way, it's going to be consistent the whole way through. You know who I am. And that way you don't got to be surprised. You ain't got to have no conference meeting. You ain't got to pull me to the side. You know who I am and you know what I'm about. And that's the reason why I don't really wear it. And that's the reason why I refuse to wear it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Guy on the couch, what you got for question number 2?
All right, question number 2. Do we only wear the mask when in the company of other races? Rob Cole says, only at work. Race doesn't matter, though I'm more prone to, quote unquote, let my hair down around those who look like me. They pay for the work product, which is the whole show, style, and substance. They don't pay me to be me. They pay me to do the job the way that they want it done in the manner most favorable to them. Back to you.
That's fascinating. First of all, before I get into asking y'all, shout out to Rob Coles. He always comes through with great comments. This one struck me like when I read it, when he said like, they don't pay me to be me, they pay me to do my job. I was like, wow, that is crazy. That's fascinating. But with that said, does anyone else?
Gold.
Go ahead, Colin.
No, I was saying that comment is gold.
It is. I was, you know, everyone in here knows how I am about certain things, but like when I read that comment, I was like, you know, I think he's got a point. I think he's got a point there. Carl, you've been quiet on this one. How'd you feel about Rob Cole's comments?
I mean, I agree, you know, that like you say, they don't pay you to be you, they pay you to be, you know, to do a job. But I also feel like in hiring you, they hire you and your personality. And again, what I said before is that everybody has some value that they bring, you know, and what that is going to be different, you know. So, you know, the whole idea of doing it in front of, you know, like I say, like for different races and making them comfortable. And I mean, again, see, I'm more of a person who just feels like there's not really a one size fits all, you know. It really just, some people just have to do what's best for you. And like Greg say, like, I'm just not doing it. It's too much effort for me. I don't agree with it. I'm not doing it. But I feel like, you know, when I'm at work, I want to have a, you know, particular image. If I'm going to be treating mentally ill people, it's very important for me to be careful about what I say. And then, yes, will it be different when I'm talking to Black people versus white people? Sometimes it depends on how well I know, you know, my patient, how long I've been treating them. I may, you know, you know, the way I may speak to them may be different. When I'm explaining things, I'm not going to be using research terms to explain to people about medication. It's just not effective, first of all. So sometimes I need to, you know, bring it into terms that they can, you know, understand. But there's a time and place for that, you know. It's just not so I think it's something to be said about being a chameleon and being able to adapt. Adaptation is a great thing, and there's a place for that in this world. So, you know, but yeah, they pay me to do a job. But I feel like part of being good at what I do is being unapologetically Black, but also being able to say I can speak proper English and I can code switch and speak slang to help my patients be more compliant and, you know, continue treatment and stay on board. I mean, how could that, I don't see any of that as like being fake. I think it's, you know, I'm doing my job and I'm doing a great job, you know. People who might present themselves only one way, you know, might be less effective because everybody that comes through that door is different.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like I agree with Rob's comment of, you know, they don't pay me to be me, they pay me to do my job. But also they couldn't pay me enough to sell out either. Like, and I feel like if you do it to a point where you aren't true to yourself, I don't want to call you a sellout, but you know, it's something, and it not selling out to your race, but you're just selling out to yourself. You know, like you just aren't being true to yourself. And, you know, I guess like the example of like at work, you'll get, or when I'm dealing with work or around work, I'd be the same if I was talking to, a bunch of white male coworkers as I would if I go to a school that is predominantly Black children. I'm going to speak the same way. And it's not because, it may just be me and a bunch of Black kids. But really what it comes down to is it's still professionalism. Like there is a specific way that you need to behave when you are at work, and not because you don't, not because you're trying to hide something from people, but there are things that just aren't acceptable at work. And there is no getting around that. Yeah, I would love to, hurl off certain words and things to people that I encounter at work, but I can't do that because that's unprofessional. And to some degree, I got to make sure that I keep a roof over my head and food on the table. If it's something that I can avoid, like cussing somebody out or swinging on somebody at work, yeah, I would love to do it, but I'll settle for just walking away from them, or I can intellectually put them in a position where I can make them look stupid without having to stoop to that level of just swinging on them. Ultimately, I want to swing on them, but
But
so
there's a time and a place, and that's
there's
not
a
it.
time, yeah, but there's a time and a place, and that's not it. So like I said, if I'm talking to a bunch of people at work, I'm going to talk the same way as I would to a bunch of students about the job. Like it's about professionalism and the presentation of this is what it takes. And then afterwards, when it's just one-on-one conversation, okay, now we can get to know each other a little bit more. Now you can see, oh, he's a normal dude. He's not, this is just how you behave when it comes to work. Business is business. And then after business, we can rap however you want.
Anyone else on this one? So a last word?
I'll just say this. There's professionalism and then there's personality. When it comes to getting the task done, you can get the task done, but that should not make you sacrifice who you are at all. So when it comes to my job, I will do my job. And if you ask me anything about it, the job will get done. If we're talking on a personal level, you're going to get what you're going to get. Plain and simple. That's the way I carry it. So the job will get done. I'm not talking to customers all outrageous and reckless or anything like that. I have at times, but for the most part, I'll keep it professional to get the task done that needs to be done. I'll execute that. But in all other fronts, I'm going to do it with my personality and the way that I am. And it really, to me, it don't matter as long as the job gets done. Now, if you're going to go complain about it, then you can complain about it or don't. Doesn't matter to me. Point is, whatever the task is, I'll make sure the task is done. Everything else, I'm just going to be who I am.
Hey, we're at that time again. You know what time it is. You know what we do in this position. It's time for me to plug the website, which is www.blackadvancement.com. When you're at the website, you can go to stuff like our debates tab, where you can see debates where we talk about stuff like this. We had one just a couple weeks ago on TV Imagery that was fantastic. You should check it out when you get a chance to. We're also on a YouTube page with it and all that stuff. I'll be sending that stuff out soon. So, way to go on me. One of my favorite things to do, recommended websites where we recommend other Black-owned businesses. This sweatshirt, I know y'all see it. I know it's fly. I saw it and I was like, oh my God, this is so dope. Reached out to the person who I happen to know who runs the business. I was like, what is this? Who are you guys? He says, we are Icon Nation, spelled Icon, N-A-T-N. If you want to do it, iconnation.com. They do shirts, they do music. They basically just try to reach out. It's kind of like it's a hip Black-owned business in Frederick with creativity, and it deals with faith, and it deals with a bunch of different stuff. But I know that some of the guys there personally, they're good dudes, but even more than that, their merchandise is fire. So, I mean, if you get a chance to, you should go check it out. Now, I'm going to talk about our book of the month, which is another thing that we do from the website. Book of the month for this one is Negroland, a memoir by Margot Jefferson. This came out about a couple of years ago, and it's interesting how it fits into this discussion. I'll just leave it at that. Now we'll go on to our final question, and I'm going to start with Shanice on this one. So get your ears ready for this question, Shanice. Will there ever come a day when the mask will not be necessary?
Well, That's kind of a hard question to answer.
I will start with Maurice. I was like,
No, I'll go ahead and answer it. But yeah, because I think we all like we kind of explain like we wear masks for different reasons for around different people.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to say if there will be a day where you feel like everyone will be fully accepting of you as who you are without the idea of being a professional and this and that. I think there will kind of always be some sort of code of conduct where people are expected to act a certain way in certain environments. So, and I don't necessarily think if you're acting in a professional environment that you're necessarily wearing a mask. You're just not showing a side of you that your friends or your family members might see every day. And I think to a varying degree, I don't think there's going to come a point where we can just be 100% who we are 100% of the time, just because there are certain already kind of standards that are set within the environment that you are in. And unless that all goes away and we rebuild and restructure, like everybody do what you want to do and act how you want to act, then I don't think that's going to go away.
Cool. That's a good answer. Who wants to step in next? I'll go Coney next. Coney, what you got?
Yeah, I think Shanice summed it up perfectly. And also touching on what Maurice said before, that I don't think there will ever come a time to where you won't have to wear it. But, Shanice said it and Maurice hinted at it as well, is that there are some people who don't deserve be all of you all the time. There's just no point. There's no point in me giving off the effort to show you who I am when I'm hanging out with my best friends, when we're not best friends. You and I aren't on that level. So for what reason do I have let you into that side of me?
Right.
And it is what it is. So, and Shanice said it best. Unless society starts over from zero, and when we are starting over from zero, nobody has any recollection of what happened prior to day zero. Whatever happened.
Okay. Anyway, so let's see who is next. Who's next? I'll go Maurice next.
I agree with both Brandon and Shanice that no, I don't really see a time where there won't be a need for a mask. I think there's always just a proper time and place to show or display different aspects of you. And unless everybody's just always around each other, then nah. But you guys will always see a different me than my coworkers, just because I love you guys and I just work with them.
Fair enough. Love you too, and about being around each other, COVID. Anyway, Takara, here you go.
I don't think there will ever be a time where we don't need it. I don't think so. I mean, it'd be nice if we could make that kind of progress, but that's unlikely. That's my opinion. I just think it's a time and a place. So
that's
for
fair.
everything.
That's fair. Greg.
I have a question about the question.
Okay.
Now, when you say this about the mask, do you mean for everyone, or just Black people?
Good question. So we are the Black Advancement. So usually when I do these questions, I always have them with the point of view of looking at it from a Black person's perspective.
Okay, fair enough. Mm-hmm. All right, and in that case, in order for us to make certain heights, that mask is going to have to be worn, unfortunately. So if you want to make it to the top, at some point, better break out your makeup kit and go ahead and put on that mask, because you're only going to make it so far in this country. You know what I'm saying? Being unapologetically Black, you're only going to go so far. for me, myself personally, I'm not completely moved by that. Making $1 million a year and all that stuff. Oh, it'd be nice.
Yeah.
You know, but I'd much rather be authentically me than halfway miserable and rich. So I'm not, for me, I'm not gonna put on a mask and halfway and feel like I'm tap dancing in order to get to where I feel like I belong. If I belong there, then somehow I'll get there and it'll happen. But till then, I'm just gonna do me. Now, as far as the totality of it, the way this country is set up, for Blacks, no, we're always gonna have to wear the mask. White people can do what they want. Trump took that mask straight off of them. They're saying whatever they want and doing whatever they want. And you know, I mean, they're literally living their best life when it comes to language right now. This is some throwback 1960s. Hurry up and get the police and those dogs to get those niggas life right now. That's how they're living. So for us, that mask is always gonna have to be on in order for us to make it to certain heights in this country. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future, and I'm not even talking about the near future, I'm talking not even about my kids' lifetime, probably not even my kids' lifetime. Maybe at that point, we'll get to a point where everyone can be accepted for who they are 100%. But as of right now, being Black in this country, in order to get to a certain level, you got to walk on some eggshells at some point.
Shoot,
Unless
just
you
to make
own
it
your
to
own.
21,
And even
you
if you
gotta.
own your own, you still got to answer to somebody.
I have a question because you know that the mask is based off of a poem that was written by Paul Laurence Dunbar, and when he wrote that poem about the mask, it was about Black people having to smile through all of their all of the stuff that was going on during the time. So the mask that we wear now, is it the same mask that Paul Laurence Dunbar was talking about? How we have to hide our tears and smile through the pain and go through life as if we, like, you know what mask I'm talking
Yeah.
about, right? Like, so is it the same mask like we're wearing? Did the mask change over time?
I would say, I mean, like, I would say this, it's the same society, so it's the same outcome in terms of what you're doing. The reason why the Bible is still so relevant to so many people is because the prospect of the way that humanity operates has never changed, right? The things that we struggled with 2,000 years ago, we still struggle with now. The stuff around us has changed, but us as people, our inner humanity has not changed at all. And the much can be said similar about that with the way things have gone in America, at least in terms of race relations. Some things have changed here and there, but overall, the biggest problem within America is and always will be the color line. And until someone addresses that, the mask that has to be worn still is going to have to be worn, as you said earlier, like through things such as like an emotional time where we're all feeling very upset and very disappointed. And because we have quote unquote excelled at stuff, we tend to be the only people of person in some rooms. And we have to go in those rooms no matter what happened to George Floyd, no matter what Kyle Rittenhouse did, no matter if Trayvon was gunned down or not, no matter if, we look like this or we look like that victim, we still have to show up and we still have to be able to do our stuff, and we have to do it without being put in a place where they could take us out of those positions. So I believe that, yes, it's still the same mask that was painted on and put on and talked about way back in whenever Dunbar wrote the poem. It's still the same thing that applies today because the situation has not changed.
Yeah, I'll just say Colin Kaepernick. He took his mask off and he hasn't had a job in the NFL since. They're like, no, don't have any feelings about this. Just play football. And he was like, no, I'm good. Yeah. I'll talk about it. I'll show you my feelings on the situation.
And the irony just about that is, the NFL backpedaled faster than Dion over this last year, and they're now supportive of what Kaepernick was saying, but that didn't change the fact that
still ain't got no job.
Still ain't got no job, right?
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how people react 20 years from now when all this is going down. How many people are going to say they didn't vote for Trump, and how many people will say
it'll be a miraculous. They're like, we supported Colin the whole time.
Yeah.
We didn't like Trump at all. It's like, really? There's 72 million people. I disagree that
Bringing them out.
none of you.
Sure do. It is.
Like none of you.
Right.
So,
Interesting.
Look,
Go ahead,
let's
Greg.
just be honest here. What we need here is a strong arm takeover. Even with this whole hair thing, I think white people should get mandatory perms when they come to work from here on out, and no straight hair is allowed. Put that on record.
I want to go to the guy on the couch. I got a couch. What you got? Question number 3.
Question number 3, will there ever come a day when the mask won't be necessary? So Anton O. Smallwood says, yes, that day is today. There's no reason to wear a mask. You can be successful and still be accepted. Don't wear a mask just to make a modicum of what you perceive as success, when the ones you're trying to impress could give an expletive about you. As hard as life can be, don't let anyone make you ashamed of who you are. Play offense. Back to you.
I like that. Play offense. Anybody got anything additional to add to what Antoine had to say? Shout out to Antoine, by the way.
I 100% agree with Antoine.
Probably 100% disagree. Only again, but again, the car brought this up earlier. Whatever works for you, and if that works for him, if he believed that worked for him, then so be it. I don't think that could work for me with what I want to do and where I want to end up being. I don't think end up working. To each their own.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm somewhere in the middle between it. Like, I don't put my mask on for your acceptance. I just put, again, my mask is for, I guess, how I value you, the company that I'm in. And so, if you don't hire me because of it, that's fine. If I'm not, one day rich and because of it, I mean, that's fine. Again, I can sleep comfortably at night knowing I am exactly who I am. So yeah, I just don't think that it's something that, I guess I look at it differently than he's looking at it. So I don't feel like I'm wearing a mask. I just feel like you just get different sides of me. But all of them are genuinely me. Some days I am just chill, and it's not like I don't have energy and I'm trying to hide, when I'm excited and all this other stuff. I'm just chilling, and that's it. So yeah, that's it.
Ladies, one of y'all want to have the last word? All right, fine. Okay.
I think we covered it. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Like I said, I just feel like, it's, I don't know. I just feel like we all have, like kind of like what Maurice is saying, like there's just different parts of people, you are a combination of things. People aren't just one thing, one face, one person, one feeling, one emotion. We would be like robots. We're not robots. We're people, and people have feelings and thoughts and emotions, and those may change depending on the situation. I don't see anything wrong with that. When you bring race into it, yes, there are. I think that there are certain situations where we do want to be more careful about that. And that's, like you say, something that we've had to do over the years. But me personally, if I worked for like an all Black company, I still wouldn't just be up in there, singing, rapping, doing all that, like while I'm at work. My personal opinion is that's not where it doesn't belong there. That is what I do when, I'm at home or with my family or with my friends, or, that's not, to me, that's not the place for it. But depending on what you do for a living, or who you work with, that could change. So I think the mask, I don't think is going away. It would be nice. I don't know if it would be nice. I guess it would be nice, if you didn't have to wear a mask per se, but I would probably still be who I am. I still feel like I'm me. I don't feel like I'm doing anything to, you know, make anybody else feel comfortable or make somebody else happy. I feel like I'm just doing what I need to do for my life, my career, you know, like I say, like if I'm with, you know, kids or families, it's just, you know, there's other parts of me. I'm not, you know, just, you know, I'm not one dimensional. You know, Takara's in 3D, honey.
Go ahead.
That's but when it comes to the mask, I thought, in my opinion, the way I broke it down in my mind is I thought the mask was part of being one dimensional. So she's talking about the same thing that I'm talking about. Like there's no compromising who I am. I feel like when you put on the mask, that's when you compromise who you are and you become one dimensional. So
do you feel like what I'm talking about is being fake? Like when I talk about how I speak differently, you know, depending on who I'm with, or, you know, when I'm at work, like, I don't think that it's fake. I mean, I've heard, you know, white people say things or sometimes do things. And to me, I feel like it's often I'm choosing my battles wisely. Every action does not require a reaction. And I'm just, you know, sometimes, you know, I might be like, you know, I'm not here for it. But that, to me, that may not be something that I feel like I should put effort forward to correct somebody's, you know, behavior or what somebody says. I might, you know, it's like, look, child, long as my check cash on Friday, this is really not, you know, an issue for me. So sometimes, you know, that's how I feel about things. Then other times, like Shanice gave the example earlier about, this I'm not doing, I'm not showing it, you know. So like you say, there's some things that are just, I'm just gonna brush that dirt off my shoulder. And then other times I may be like, you know, there's other times that I need to speak up. But I think that that's choosing my battles wisely. Is you know, it's like, I talk to my mom about this a lot, you know, with stuff with her job that really has nothing to do with race, but it applies to this situation with, you know, being Black in America. You know, it can be, there is a, you know, the mask thing is very real for a lot of us. And it'd be nice if we didn't have to wear it. But I you know, I think that's the end of my thought.
Yeah, because like I said, we're more on the same page than I thought we were when it comes to these kind of things. Because you, like you said, you pick and choose your battles and everything else. And that's fair. What I was assuming was with this whole mask thing is you just kind of go with the flow with everything. One of those kind of things, one of those kind of people where you just kind of go along with the program. And I'm definitely not one of those people. So, and even with battles at work, for the most part, I will pick every single battle because I'm usually the only Black dude there. I will take on every single battle that there is because they got to learn. they have to understand that what they've done is wrong and they can't keep on going on with life like this unless somebody calls them on it.
Can't keep going on with life like this.
Because if I don't call them on it, then they're gonna think it's fine, and they're just gonna continue this string of things. And even guys that I get along with, there's a guy I got along with at work. He used the word colored like 3 times. I was like, wait a minute, what year is this? What are you saying? And then these are the people, like, they used colored. I was like, just say the race of whatever you're talking about. Colored, that is just ignorant. Don't say colored. And he's like, why? I was like, because it's disrespectful for one. And then I'm not going to get into the whole scenario.
It has a negative connotation.
There was a whole lot of 4-letter words involved in this conversation with a guy we were somewhat cool. I was like, we were pretty cool. But just because we cool doesn't mean I'm going to let you slide by with saying halfway racist things. That's not going to happen. Even if you didn't know it was racist, now you know it's racist. Now you know that's not to be said. So next time when you do say it, I can fully bust your ass. That's where I'm at with it.
Well, Moon Crickets, it's come to that time where we go back to
Yeah, can't say that.
I can't say that.
Can't say that.
I can't say that. I apologize. That was poorly timed joke. It was actually very well timed. That was very well timed. That was very well timed. Anyway, last plug of the day, www.blackadvancement.com. On there, you will see another tab that's called Zoomcast. What is that? I'm going to let you know more about it next year. It's basically a bunch of different things that we're doing here, except for more lanes will be filled. I'll just leave it at that. Donations, we are a nonprofit. I mean, give it up. I mean, come on, stick them up, give it up. Okay, anyway. Black people you should know, the person that we chose from our website for today is W.E.B. Du Bois, who, I mean, if you don't know about him, honestly, I mean, I don't know what to say. Yeah, I don't know what to say. He's one of the greatest living Americans, in my opinion, that's ever walked the earth.
Hey, I jump back. If anybody who subscribes to anything that you do or visits your site and they don't know who he is,
yeah,
that's a problem.
Yeah, it is a problem. I agree. No, I agree. I agree 100%. And
I disagree. Sorry, I just like saying that. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. And finally, we're gonna go on to solutions. So we are a solutions-based organization. We do come up with ideas to combat some of the problems that we discuss within the Black Advancement and that we put on a display for other people to see and watch for the debates. I'm not going to go into any of them right now, but there are a couple that are in the works that probably on the next one that we do, I can go into a couple as opposed to just one, like I usually do. So with all that being said, thank you for watching. Follow us on Facebook at The Black Advancement. We got new stuff for Twitter and IG. So on Twitter, we are at Black Advancement, but Black is spelled BLK, not block. I think that was an argument that we had internally. Anyway, so also on IG, we are The Black Advancement. Or you can always catch us at the website, which is www.blackadvancement.com. Until next time, Black people, peace in advance. Any shout outs besides Hampton University even necessary? I think Brandon's got the right idea. I think Maurice has got the right idea.
I can't do it.
Gotta get the
Never mind.
Here it is.
Here it is.
Stop recording.